Awesome. Look at you guys. You guys look so good today. How you feeling? But I am excited. Kim, thank you for the opportunity, and everybody with Creative Mornings. I'm really excited. I've actually kind of been connected to Creative Mornings for a while. I say connected because my wife, Natalie, has been with Creative Mornings for 3 years now. 5? Geez, okay. Well, don't ask us when we're like how long we've been married. I'll probably forget that one too. And so I haven't been able to be really a part of it until recently. And man, what an awesome opportunity to come here, be inspired, hear something new, learn something new. And a little bit of that is my goal today. I'll tell you a little bit about myself, but ultimately, like, I do have an agenda. And I think it's important whenever you're talking to people, you understand what their agendas are. Because you're probably going to get whatever you want out of it, and I want you to get what I want you to get out of it. And so I have an agenda today, and it's to answer a couple questions. But just like Kim said, my name is Eric, my wife Natalie. I got 3 amazing boys. I got an 8-year-old, Balin, and then I have a 3-year-old, Marvel, and then I have a 1-year-old named Rigby. And yes, we are those hippie parents that name their kids weird names. But the whole idea was we just didn't want our kids to meet another person like them. And I think that might be unique enough just in their names alone. And if you're wondering, did I name my kid Marvel because I love superheroes? No, but that is convenient. I do love superheroes. I love mythology. I love comic books. I'm the biggest. Anybody else? You went and saw Doctor Strange already? Nobody? I'm in the wrong room. Okay. Oh, we got a few. Okay, there we go. Okay. Are we just not an interactive crowd? Should we stand up, do a couple jumping jacks, different things like that? Okay, here's the thing. I'm a preacher. I'm used to people yelling at me while I'm on stage, going like, come on, preach it, preacher. I'm not that type of preacher. I am the type of guy that if you like something, I do want to know that you like it. So if you hear something that I say and you go, oh, that's good, say it out loud. Because it encourages me to keep going on that point. Otherwise, I'm just going to ramble like I'm doing now. And that's not fun for anybody. Maybe some of you. Some of us just listen to podcasts and don't talk to people. Anybody do that? Come on. There we go. A few more hands for that than there was for Doctor Strange. But like I said in the beginning, I do have a little bit of an agenda today. I want to answer 2 questions. The 2 questions that I want to answer are questions that I've heard more in the last 2 years, 2.5 years, that we've been in this pandemic than I've heard in any other time of my life, including I've said these 2 questions more times in my life than any other time of my life. And here are the 2 questions. Why me? Why now? Yeah. Why me? Why now? And I believe if we can answer these 2 questions, and I'm going to do my best to attempt to answer that question, that anytime that you would ask that question in your life, my attempt today is that you could come back to this conversation and you could remember the answer to it today whenever you face it next time. Because we ask this question in a lot of different ways, right? I mean, most of the time, and whenever I say something like, why me, why now, it's in desperation. And that's been the last 2.5 years. Anybody else? It's been crazy, right? I mean, it's unpredictable. It is chaotic. It was depressive. It was lonely. It was isolated. It was everything we thought life wasn't going to be when we got freedom and we were able to become adults and do whatever we wanted. And suddenly somebody said, go to your room, you're in timeout. And this isn't a governmental thing. This is just the reality is that you couldn't go anywhere. And often I found myself sitting in my living room, and I was grateful that I had an amazing wife, and we just had a kid. So we had 2 kids at the time, and I had a family with me, and I still felt lonely. I was around people all the time. And some of you guys are like, oh, that'd have been nice. It wasn't. You realize why you actually go to work. It's to get away. Some of you are actual family people, and you're like, that's harsh. But this was the reality, is that even in those moments, even when I was surrounded by the people that I love at all times, I still felt lonely. And I felt myself looking at a business I was running and people that I loved, and I saw people all around me getting hurt and living in a life of that isolation and despair. And I would do phone calls and Zoom calls with people, and I would reach out to my friends and mentors in my life, and I would ask this question, why me? Why now? Like, in the reality of all human history, there's been a couple pandemics, but why now? And why did it have to happen to me? And I think that's actually kind of an interesting question. Do you know that you're the hero of your own story? I mean, that's just the reality of it. You're not the bad guy, right? When you think of yourself, whenever you replay your day or maybe past events, or maybe it's at the end of the year and you're looking back in the past year, you were never the enemy in your own story. You're the hero, which is why you asked the question, why me? You didn't ask why us. And it just is what it's okay. It's not selfish. You should. You only have your perspective. The only way you get a different one is whenever you talk to someone, maybe for 30 minutes, and suddenly you can get yourself outside of your perspective and you go, oh, well, that's an interesting way. And during the middle of a pandemic, we have shootings of black men, and you start realizing your perspective needs to grow larger and larger and larger. And it's crazy that even as you get connected to a bigger world, you start feeling more and more lonely. This is what I found out in social media for me. It was, oh man, what a great opportunity. I've moved around a lot in my life, and I got to reconnect with friends and see how they're doing. And I didn't feel any more connected. I didn't feel any more here and in this world anymore. And so today I want to talk about these two questions, why me and why now? And I think on the other side of answering these questions is limitless creative potential. It has been for me, and doesn't mean that like I've suddenly have overcome the problems of how these two questions come up. I come back to these two answers every time I ask this question. Why me? Why now? I want to first start off in everything that we're talking about and understanding these is that everything that we do and everything that we live in has purpose and design to it. Now, as a person of faith, I realize that's a lot easier for me to comprehend with. But I want to kind of propose something today that life isn't by chance. It's not probability. It's not by happenstance that these things happen. Most things, I believe, are done by design. I would say sometimes even the most painful things in life happen by design, even if the design was you did nothing to prevent them or you did nothing to cause them, there was still something that happened. But the problem with probability is when I think of that kind of weird up in the air type of living is I think of the word maybe. Like, maybe you'll get that job. There's nothing you can do about it. You can go interview, but maybe. Or maybe you'll find the one for you, right? Maybe you'll land that contract. Maybe you'll be happy. And most of us, I think we approach a lot of life waking up in the morning and going, what a beautiful day. Best part of waking up, Folgers in my cup. Maybe I'll be happy today. It depends on what I interact with, right? What happens to me today? Maybe. By probability, hopefully, everything goes right. Hopefully, I can think of some sort of creative design today. Hopefully, things will be, in this probability type of living, we actually find ourselves living in a universe that's actually a casino, where the house always wins. And you have no control, no purpose, no design in being able to enhance that in any way. One of the things that we have to encounter with is that bad things happen all the time, seemingly for no rhyme or no reason. And this probability, this type of understanding of life, that it just happens to you, it causes depression. If you go talk to somebody and you realize that you are out of control in this world, that there's nothing that you can do to influence in any way, well, I guess I just give up. What am I supposed to do? That any good thing that happens to me is just happenstance. I feel like I feel like some of you are pulling away from me a little bit, but that's okay. I want to propose today that there's more purpose and design in your life. Whenever I grew up in church, and even in like the 90s church, it was all kind of more about like the hype of like, woo, we're doing stuff. And anybody watch those like old like Benny Hinn videos where he's like drop kicking people? That's what I grew up in, and I thought that being a person of faith was just being crazy. And I realized as I got older and as I found my own version of faith, when I found what God meant to me, that there was actually more design in my life. And whenever I started reading the Bible, I started realizing that the world that I live in is actually a big love letter to me from Him. Let me put it this way, is that He designed everything for me to live in it. And I think improperly communicated, which I believe a lot of it times it has, this could be really selfish. And you probably have met a lot of Christians that are very self-centered, that are very self-focused. They're worried about their afterlife, not your afterlife. In fact, their explanation of why you should go to church is so that you don't go to hell because they don't want to see you in hell. Wait, what? So it has nothing to do with we just want to have a good current reality. That the whole promise of any type of faith is that there's purpose to any of this. And as someone who is a person of faith, and if you've encountered this, I want to say this, I really mean this, on behalf of this group of people, I apologize. I apologize, I really do. It was wrong, and they said it wrong. Even if they had the best intentions, they said it wrong. But I want to present something a little different today. A little different to try to explain why there's purpose in this life. And first, I think we need to understand that this universe, this world that you live in was designed for you. So to answer the first question of why me? Well, who else but you? It was made for you. Why am I going? How about just good things? You struck the lottery, or you just got the dream house, or the dream car, or the dream job. Man, why me? I don't even feel like I deserve this. Well, who else but you? It was designed for you. Oh, someone I love passed away. Why me? I tell you, who else but you? Everyone goes through suffering. But if you realize that me mentality is actually supposed to draw you to an us reality, it might change your entire dynamic on where you approach people and you talk to people, so that when you go through things that hurt, you actually don't realize you're alone. You realize that millions of people have gone through this together. So we should do it together. We should go through this type of stuff together. When you're hitting a writer's block, I just can't do anything. Here's the first thing you should do. Go get coffee with someone. Why? Because the question of why me needs to go to, can I solve it with us? Can I solve this with a together mentality and all this stuff? Okay, again, I could feel a little push. I can feel some of you are like, this is cool, nice and creative, very fruity, like this is great. But let me try to prove it a little bit. And some of you are like, why is this picture of circles up on the screen? I want to prove that this was designed for you. And it's not by happenstance. It's not by probability. It's not by accident that these things happen. And the only way that I know how to do this, I've talked to my wife a lot about this. I remember when we first talked about this, you were like, husband, you're kind of crazy. And so she suggested I put this in visuals. And here's, I'm going to start this off by saying, and it wasn't in my intro, so I hope it's obvious, I'm not a scientist. I am also not a pastor that assumes that he knows the complexities of the universe, but let's talk about the universe. If it was designed for you, let me tell you how it was designed. Let me show you from the best of our understanding. And so I want to go to the biggest level, the biggest perspective, because we are the hero of our own universe. We are the center of our own universe. And I want to prove to you that you're not. But also prove to you why it's so important that you know you're a part of this. So welcome to our universe. Here's the cosmos. Here's everything that we know. Here's everything that we've been able to see. What's great about this is it's always expanding. Not in its size, in that our understanding is always growing. Every time we point the Hubble telescope in a different direction, we get a new perspective of the universe. Every time we hold its position long enough, we get just enough light from stars that are billions of light years away for us to be able to see that there might be some hope of something distant out in the future. And so if I were to show you a picture of what the universe looks like, when you see it, it's just a bunch of dots. But from what scientists are able to tell us and how big it is, if you just looked at the screen, in fact, actually, let's just look at the entire wall, this would be the universe. And we're going to take a little section right here. And each of these white circles is what's called a supercluster. In between those are supergroups. And then in between those, the white circles down at the bottom corner, are galaxies. And in this known universe, it's so large that we have to be able to expand it and then group it into put in these neighborhoods just for us to start to understand how large and how massive this really is. And when you start looking at the universe and in the pictures that we've taken, every picture that we've been able to go in the scope of the universe, and we go, where's our galaxy? Where does Earth exist in this? And it's always kind of in the tucked off corners. In fact, if you guys know anything about galaxies, each one of these would just be clusters of galaxies. Our galaxy is incredibly small in comparison to the vastness, not just even the universe, of other galaxies. In fact, we're tucked away in between two giant galaxies, and our galaxy is in what's called galactic tides. It's in the middle. It's this safe place. It's like eye of the hurricane. It is swirling around so massively, and it's so dangerous in those spots, and our galaxy is perfectly Goldilocks style, tucked right in the safest place it could be. In fact, it's so safe that no other galaxies could move and come in contact with it. We are perfectly placed. If we were any closer to this galaxy that's right next to it, we wouldn't exist. If we were any further away, we wouldn't exist. Let's zoom in a little bit. Our galaxy, which from what we can tell, is one of 100 billion that we've been able to estimate, is called the Milky Way galaxy. Who knew that you were in the Milky Way galaxy? Who just thought Milky Way was a delicious candy bar? That was me, yeah. Come on, someone needs some caramel. Let's go. In our Milky Way galaxy, this is what defines a galaxy is a cluster of stars that swirl together within its own kind of celestial body in and of itself. And so I wanted to kind of put a picture. If you can look at the different sizes of these circles, each one would represent a sun, would represent a star. In fact, actually, just these ones would represent suns and stars that have planets that orbit around them. And within our galaxy, we call our so they're all called solar systems, but we call ours the solar system, because we get to define it. And so when you look into the solar system, we are one of 2,500 stars within our galaxy that have planets that revolve around it. There are actually multiple stars, but ours is the one that has this. And then for our celestial body, our solar system, we actually have 8 planets. Controversial, right? Depends on when you grew up. So we were like, poor Pluto. It might just be a moon. But let's just go with 8 here. And of our 8 planets, we live on the planet Earth. And it's the third rock from the sun. Anybody watch that show? I love that show. John Lithgow's a genius. If you look into this, would you go to the next one? In Earth, we're one of 8 planets, and within our planet here, there are 7 different continents, and you live on North America. And in North America, there are 23 different countries. Did you know that? 23 unique countries that are in North America. You're in one of them. It's a big one. It's not even the biggest one. And it's not even in the center of North America. But let's zoom in a little bit to the United States here. Again, hopefully I'm not blowing anyone's mind here, but you live in Nebraska. or at least you're here. And it's one of 50 states, 2 of them within the body of the continent of North America, and 2, Alaska and Hawaii. Am I giving too much geography here? I always, have you met somebody from Minnesota and they always describe where they live based off like their palm? They're like, I'm kind of right here. And then like I go down. Yeah. So in the United States, we look like we're in the center, but when you look at the scope of it, we're actually not even close to the center. But we live in Nebraska. And if you didn't know this, Nebraska has 93 counties. I didn't know that until I started looking at it. And I've been to Western Nebraska. There's no need for a separate county out there. It could just be one, and we'd all understand. We can call it the Prairie County. It would make sense, right? You wouldn't question it. I think one DMV in all of Western Nebraska might work out, right? Anybody? No, you guys are from Western Nebraska. You're insulted. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. But our county. Again, if you didn't know this is a great lesson. We're just learning civics now. You're in Douglas County. And in Douglas County, if you didn't know this, there's actually 7 towns within Douglas County. It's not just Omaha. Again, I didn't know that. But within Omaha, when you look down into it, if you would click on this next one, there's you. And you, at least just sitting in Douglas County, in Omaha, right now in this room, you are one of 490,377 people. Anybody feel insignificant yet? Let's look at this. Now that you know where you're at in the universe, now that you know your kind of geolocation, I want to tell you how you got here. So in an average 25-year-old male's life, he'll encounter 10,000 unique women. The odds that your mom was one of the women that met your dad is 1 in 20,000. It's kind of crazy, right? Here, let's go. The probability of your parents staying together long enough to have kids is 1 in 2,000. So far, the combined odds of you existing just because your parents met is 1 in 40 million. Let's go a little bigger, right? Let's do a little bit more here. I can feel some of you are like, oh yeah, I'm unique. 1 in 40 million, it makes sense. No, let's go a little bit more. How about the odds that your mom's 1 egg? Are we gonna make it weird here? Met your father's 1 sperm and made you is 1 in 400 quadrillion. It's improbable. Okay, I can feel you. You still think you're that unique. I want to break it to you. That's just your parents' meeting. Let's talk about your grandparents, and then your grandparents' grandparents, and your grandparents' and generations, and the fact that in the history of the earth, that it somehow, some way, led up to you. The odds are 1 to 10 to the 4,500th power. This is the odds that you exist here today. In fact, it's actually easier to find bacteria in a distant planet, in a separate solar system, in a faraway galaxy, than it is statistically in probability for you to be here right now. The odds you should exist now is 0. 0. And I think that can give you anxiety or it could bring you a little bit of hope because you do exist now. Yeah. You are here. So I'm going to answer the question that I proposed in the beginning. Why now? Why me? Who else but you? Why now? You ready? I don't know. You tell me. Because you do exist now. There must be a reason. Because in all probability, you shouldn't be here. In everything else, and if you were, okay, this number seems unreasonable. Here's how you can actually equate this number in real life right now. The entire population of San Diego was all handed, each individually, a trillion-sided dice. And they all rolled it at the exact same time and landed on the same number. And if that happened, you would get this number. You would be the one in this. That's how improbable it is. So you tell me, why are you here? You tell me, because there's some reason why you're supposed to be here. There's some reason why you're supposed to create what you created. There's some reason why you're supposed to write, why you're supposed to design, why you're supposed to lead a business, why you're supposed to hold position in office, why, whatever it is. There is some reason. I don't know what it is. I'm still figuring it out for myself. But what can I tell you is that I know there is a reason. There is a purpose to all of this. There is a plan. I'm a big Beatles fan, if you can't tell by my John Lennon glasses. I'm a big Beatles fan, and John Lennon, although he didn't write this as a Beatle, I love his song Imagine. In his song, he sings about a world without materialism or religion, and it's become this anthem as a one country, one world, one people type of living. Rolling Stone, whenever the song came out, they described its lyrics as 22 lines of graceful, plain-spoken faith in the power of a world united in purpose to repair and change itself. I love this. Anybody know how the song goes? I love it. I'm not a singer, so I'll read it. I'll just read the first part. How about this? Imagine there's no heaven. It's easy if you try. No hell below us. Above us only sky. Imagine all the people living for today. You see, when I hear this as a person of faith, I don't hear Lennon mocking faith. I don't hear him trying to disrupt faith believers or God believers or Christians or anything like that. In fact, I hear him talking to people like me, saying, I think real church, real religion, real purpose and design doesn't happen in a church pew. It happens right here. It happens when we come together and we decide that we can do something more than maybe. That we could do something more than chance. That we could design and have purpose to our lives and live like there is one. Like there's something to do today. That you would wake up not hoping it would get better, but making it better. Yeah. Doing something big. I love this. See, I think that's a church that I could be a part of. That the true purpose right now in this world is not to gain an afterlife, but to heal our current reality, to bring us together. See, we live in a world, whether we want to address it or not, that is desperate to find purpose, but all we feel is that we have no purpose. And without purpose, our self-beliefs are founded in maybes. In the Bible I read, he calls that sinking sand. It shifts. Hopefully you could try to build something, but it probably won't last. The waves of life will hit, and it'll sweep it away. And that's a maybe type of living. But a design, a purpose. You see, if we don't have a purpose, here's a little bit of a harsh thing, but follow me. You should have stayed in bed today because it was way more comfortable than these chairs. In fact, you should have stayed in bed and eaten Twinkies because they're delicious. That's what I would have done. It would have been better because you wouldn't have to expose yourself to the pain of this world. And here's the thing. Some of us believe that, and 2 years ago, we were given that opportunity to stay in bed home alone. Did anybody like it? I didn't. You might have enjoyed the solitude, but you didn't enjoy the loneliness. I promise you. And together we're supposed to do something. Please hear me. I don't want to belittle any feelings. I just don't think anyone has told you how important you are to the universe. Because without you in it, it doesn't exist. Without you here, it was made for you. Why me? Why? Who else but you? Why now? Because you're here. Because you're supposed to do this. Because you're supposed to be here. You see, the universe has been waiting for you to exist. For me, I say God in this. I can replace the word God into the universe here. It's been waiting for you to exist. It moved aside all probability and chance. It adjusted generations and fought wars. It saw people fall in and out of love, and it gave purpose to great Renaissance painters and inspiration to poets and writers. It watched nations and civilizations rise and fall, and it did everything it could to get you here right now in this room so that you could hear that you were made with a purpose. So you can do something today. You can do it now. Thank you.